Central Iowa is absolutely gorgeous. It's
Is it?
I'd say it's probably 5 to 8 mile an hour wind, sunny, absolutely gorgeous.
All right, it looks like we're live.
Looked like they going pretty good in your area, Tom. I saw there was quite a, and of course, as soon as I get going, my phone has to ring. There was activity all over Northwest Iowa yesterday.
Yeah,
Farmers out disking and putting down fertilizer. Everybody was moving.
a lot of anhydrous going, a lot of fertilizer going around here. I've seen, of course, he's kind of an ornery one, but I seen one of them go out planting yesterday. He said, "If you're not first, you're last." So we'll see how that
I haven't
turns
seen
out.
any planting, but everybody was going yesterday.
We'll see how that
I
goes.
bet
I think it's supposed to dip down to 27 again next week.
I seen there was some snow in the forecast.
I got sunburnt yesterday, so there's that.
I did too. My arms both got in the.
I got sunburnt too riding my motorcycle. I rode my motorcycle up to our office and delivered a few checks.
All right, it
what are we
looks
gonna-
like we are streaming on Facebook.
Rachel,
Yeah, we can get started. Hello, everyone, and welcome to my page. We've done a few Facebook Live videos on the Dream Dirt Farm and Ranch Facebook page and also our Farm Bid machinery page. But just wanted to jump on today and kind of talk about selling your farm during the crop season or during the summertime months. But first off, I just want to introduce the founders of Dream Dirt and my brokers. Jason and Tom are here, and Nicole might jump on later. But just give a brief introduction about you, Jason.
my name is Jason Smith. I'm a real estate broker and an auctioneer. Kind of the beginnings of Dream Dirt. It was a blog. I started it around 12 years ago. I saw on my LinkedIn page this morning. I started off selling land real estate, or started off selling residential real dirt has to get up there in age now. It seems like it's still a new thing, but we're getting there.
Are you froze? You were froze up for a little bit. Are we still good?
Yep, I'm still good.
I'm not sure what it's coming through on the live video, but we'll just keep plugging away and see what all we can catch today in the video. Tom, do you want to give an introduction about yourself?
Sure. My name's Tom Bradley. I'm Jason and Nicole's business partner. I've been a part of Dream Dirt, Jason, since 2000. I've seen stuff pop up in my memories today, so I'm going to say I've been a part doing stuff with Dream Dirt since 2014, somewhere in there. My venture into real estate, I guess, came opposite of Jason. Jason was it was a real estate agent before an auctioneer. I was an auctioneer before a real estate agent. I sold a lot of livestock, hay and machinery type situations before I met Jason. And I guess been selling real estate, having my license for about 4 years now. Yeah.
Yep. Well, I thought today we would just take some time to have a roundtable discussion about selling a farm during the crop season or during the summertime months. So since that is coming up, and it's kind of more challenging situation when it comes to selling land, just in the way the terms and conditions are set and what the seller receives, what the buyer receives at closing. So I just have a few topics that I'd like us to cover today. Tom and Jason, feel free to chime in on your thoughts. But the first being, when is the best time to sell farmland? Is there really a right or wrong time to, Jason?
You know, there's no right or wrong time to sell a farm. There's selling a farm really, you know, oftentimes the timing is dictated by something else. The time that you do sell the farm will determine how you structure your terms and conditions to sell the farm.
Yeah, for sure. Tom, do you see how cropland, do you see it being in a high demand right now and going into the summer months? What's your take on demand and what buyers are after in the upcoming months? Is that cropland? Is that farmland, hunting land, recreational land? Is cropland still in high demand, Tom?
The cropland very much so is still in high demand and always will be. Depending on where it is, it always sells very well, you know, no matter the time of year. You know, I think we'll see the pasture type and the hunting type property not be as desirable, just with our current conditions going on. But that farmland, it's always going to hold a value right now. It doesn't seem to, there's not much doom and gloom, it doesn't seem like in that world. And, is always going to hold a good price.
Yeah, I see that Nicole might have been able to jump on now. Nicole, if you're there, do you just want to give a brief introduction about yourself? Oh,
So she's muted.
yeah, she's muted. I don't know how to unmute her.
There, can you hear me now, guys?
Yeah.
There you go, Nicole.
Okay. Like I was saying, I apologize for being late. I was having internet trouble, but my name's Nicole Smith. I'm an auctioneer. I am a co-founder of Dream Dirt with my husband, Jason, and partners with Tom. When I first started into this, my main responsibilities were the online portion of the auctions. I've kind of moved forward to that and from that and handed that part over to Rachel. She handles most of those things, and I handle more administrative behind the scenes and kind of pitch in wherever I can help the most. So that's how I got started in with Dream Dirt. So yeah, and it's been fun, and it's been fun watching the company continue to grow and to be able to help our clients be successful.
Yeah, I've definitely loved following in your footsteps, Nicole, with taking over some of the online auction coordinating and still doing my business with the agent side as well, the real estate side. So now I'd like to kind of go into, and let's set up a scenario now and just hear everyone's advice on what seems to be kind of a complicated issue that landowners face. Let's say, for example, that I'm a landowner who has a tenant farming 80 acres of cropland this upcoming season. How would I go about selling my farm, and what happens to my tenant? Jason, would you like to start on how you'd handle that situation?
Yeah, so there's lots of considerations here. So you've come to me today and you said, I have this farm I want to sell, and, you know, say it's the beginning of June, and you're going to look to sell around the beginning of July, close around the beginning of August. So you're right smack in the middle of the year. You're right in the middle of the crop year. And what that typically means is we look at that July 1st as kind of the halfway point. It's the midpoint of the year. It's the midpoint of the crop year. We're going to look at that point as sort of a division of the income for the particular year that you're selling in. Now, you know, when you sell in the wintertime, there's no splits of income. You know, the farm is out of season, and you know, you don't have that concern. But when you sell during the crop year, you're going to have that concern. That's been done lots of different ways. Typically, it's just a split. Now, that split can be a cash check at the end of it. It can be where the tenant pays the new owner. It can be where the tenant pays the old owner and the new owner gets some sort of a credit or a stipend on their closing statement. Oftentimes that's used for the buyers, you know, towards the buyer's down payment on the farm. You know, if they're taking out a loan from Farm Credit or one of their local banks, they're going to probably use that as a credit towards their down payment on the farm. So there's lots of different ways, in my opinion, to set those things up. And I'm sure that Tom has a few ideas too, but that's kind of the road I usually go down. I try to keep it simple. I prefer when I set up a transaction that no money ever changes hands in terms of actual cash or a check. I always like to set it up as a bid credit so that the buyer, rather than receiving a separate check, will just receive a credit on the closing statement, a bid credit. So let's say that their winning bid was $9,000 per acre and there was a $150 bid credit. You're just going to subtract the 150 off of the 9,000 and then close at that price.
Tom, do you have anything to add to Jason's comments?
No, that's typically how I handle them too, and suggest to them in handling. Never usually have any money change hands, just because sometimes that can kind of confuse everybody involved. It's all part of into the closing type stuff. It becomes a credit at a closing off of their final bid. You know, as far as I had some farms that I sold last year that the tenant always paid his rent in December, and so there was kind of some confusion there, and so I just told him just give the rent credit at the closing and let that farmer go ahead and pay the rent like he always has to you. It's all going to work out the same. So you know, it's all interpretation how we do it and set it up and make the process easy for them.
Yeah, I guess kind of just repeating off of that and maybe giving one more story. Could someone kind of tell again how the farm income is split then, and say if I sell on July 1st, how could that help a buyer make the business decision to buy? And what does it have a result on the final price of the farm? If you buy a farm on July 1st as a buyer, what are their thoughts kind of? Who would like to tell a story or an example of that, of past experiences of selling a farm during the midsummer? I know, Tom, you kind of hit on that too, and splitting the income, and kind of go into a little bit more detail. Jason, you mentioned that some of the rent credit gets split at closing. So kind of just dive in a little deeper of who receives what at closing, and credits to the buyer.
Okay. Yeah, I can do that. If you have a farm that is renting for, let's say, $300 per acre, okay? Your tenant was going to make you a $300 per acre payment on March 1st. And you're also going to sell the farm on March 1st. Let's say your auction date is on March 1st. Closing is going to be on April 1st. So you're really, that new buyer is going to for the all of the money is going to go to the actual new owner of the farm. They can use that for their interest payments. If they're a farmer buyer, of course, they want to farm it their first year, but they can't. So it can ease the burden by having some sort of return to make the interest payments at the bank that they're going to have to do on that farm for the year. It doesn't, it never makes sense to actually keep the rent for a year and then sell the farm, just blank, as I've always called it. You just sell it blank with no income, because I do think you're going to hurt your price. If you're not equitable, there's still somebody out there that'll buy your farm without income, but they're really going to get their income in terms of their own you're going to rent the farm. Well, that's fine, but the seller or the buyers are going to bid their own discount into their price when they bid it. Either way, I think it's just better for the seller to offer that. I think those things are going to help. They say, and I have often said it never makes sense to stack the deck against the buyer because they're going to respond with lower bids. They always do.
I guess just to kind of round out our conversation today, I'd like everyone just to cover the resources that we have that we provide at Dream Dirt for landowners. Just any other stories you'd like to share, how we stay busy throughout the year, and how really there isn't no downtime here at Dream Dirt, especially with the upcoming summer season and crop season like we've been covering. People are still going to sell their land during the summertime. So Nicole, if you're still there, do you want to kind of cover our websites, what we have, Dollars in Dirt, market analysis, how you can reach us?
Sure. One of the great tools that Dream Dirt offers is a website that's called dollarsanddirt.com. And this is where we keep all of the updated recent land prices of farms that have sold. Stephanie keeps those going up, and there you go. Thank you for putting that up there. So if you go in there, you can choose the county that your farmland is in, any county that you wanted to choose. So you click on the map, and then it's going to bring up a list of your counties. And then you can decide, okay, where am I at? What do I want to look at? And it gives you like your CSR. It gives you like your price point per CSR, and it gives you an idea there of what your land values would be. So that's a great resource that you guys can use and that we keep current. Another thing that Dream Dirt offers for you guys is something called a free market analysis. And that's where one of our agents will get the information of your particular farm, and they will get in and give you a comprehensive analysis of what we feel that your farm would be valued at by looking at the soil maps, aerials, and comparables. And then that way we can give you a good idea of what you could expect should you want to sell your land. Another great thing that Dream Dirt offers are the ebooks that we have put together. These ebooks are full of information on tips and tricks and the information that you need to know should you want to sell your farm or you're just interested in gathering information on that. You can get a hold of Kristen. Our 800 number is 855-376-3478, and she can get those a link sent out to you, or if you need a hard copy, she can send a hard copy out to you as well. So there's so much that Dream Dirt offers. And not only that, I mean, there's those things, and we also offer like these live Facebook lives that we're doing now, and we do webinars and everything. So anything that you guys are looking for, we can give you that type of information.
Thanks, Nicole. Yeah, we have plenty of great resources for all of our landowners. You can give any of us a call. My contact information is on my Facebook page, of course, as well. Tom, do you want to talk about some of our past sales, how they've been going? I know we've got a land sale and a land auction today that's going to be closing around 2, and kind of what we provide as a full brokerage.
Sure. Our land sales recently, this is something, you know, I was talking to somebody yesterday, and they was asking us about land sales and how we've been conducting them online. And I think somewhere since the first of the year, Stephanie had done a calculation for me, but I've lost track. But somewhere since first of the year, we've sold about 2,000 plus acres in that range. And we've only sold one at live auction, and that was 80 some acres. So of 2,000 acres, We've sold we've sold 80 acres, less than 100 acres, using the live auction method. Now, I'm not saying that the live auction method is wrong or anything. We all love doing it. We love getting together as our crew and doing them. But we just know how effective the online method is of selling those farms and getting the best money for them that we can. That says a lot that we've sold 2,000 acres since January, and only 80 acres have been sold by live auction. So that tells you our success that we're on them. What we're seeing in the land sales right now, the land sales is still holding very strong. We're seeing a lot of investor type buyers kind of that are looking for the returns on it, that are returning better than the stock market right now. Those guys that can buy a farm for 4 to 5% return, where they're earning about 1.5% on their money in the stock market or wherever. So we're seeing a lot of interest in that. The land has always been a good investment there. The farmers are still buying. Like I said earlier, the attitudes are still good in the farming economy. They still buy a good farm. When Jason and I always vet or interview a seller, we ask how long or when the last time the farm would have sold, and a lot of them are 100 some years or 80 some years. They're fantastic auctions. The public hasn't had an opportunity to buy those farms, and that's why an auction is so effective for those farms to find out what they're worth. So the demand is still very strong for land right now, and everybody's still looking and ready to buy.
Yeah, I just want to touch base with everyone that's watching this video. If you have any questions, feel free to ask or put them in the comments below, and we'll answer those questions. We're probably just going to stay on for another 5-10 minutes and kind of wrap things up. So if you have any questions, feel free to put it in the comments or message me later on throughout the day too. Jason, can you head up maybe some of our upcoming land for sale? I know we have a really high quality CSR2 rating farm in O'Brien County coming up the end of the month, and how we still sell land during summer. Any cool stories about selling land? Maybe last summer, I think we had a few online auctions that did really well, and anything you'd like to share?
Yeah. So, let's talk a little bit about summer auctions. Here's one thing about summer auctions that I think always kind of lends itself to success for the seller. There's always a lot less competition during that time of year. You're the only one out there. So when you have these 1031s and these time frames, the 180-day time frames, and you hit that just right with the summer auction, and there's minimal competition to you as an auction or other land for sale, I think that can be a real boon to the seller. And I think that's one of the reasons that some of those are kind of become the outlying comparables. You're like, well, what in the world happened there? Why was that auction so good? Then you look at it and it has a July sale date on it. All of a sudden, then it makes sense that selling outside of the crop year or inside of the crop year can be a boon. I'm not saying that it's a silver bullet and everybody's going to have those results. That's not the case. But I certainly do want to make the case that it's not bad to sell during the crop year. Every year we sell farms during the crop year. And we begin to field those questions about right now. And, we're having this conversation because this is about when those things start to come up. And I said earlier, oftentimes they're dictated by something else, whether it's an estate, a death in the family, some sort of unknown debt or whatever it might be. And the farm has to sell during this time. And there's no reason to fear that or have any problem with it. You can keep your tenant gets to keep the farm. The tenant is still going to be subject to all of his tenancy rights until those rights are terminated either by the new buyer or yourself on the closing of the transaction. I did want to comment, or just a bit ago, you asked Tom about demand for farmland. And you're right, I do have a 95 CSR farm coming up in O'Brien County. Got a couple coming up in Lucas County. We've kind of got stuff, just all over the state of Iowa right now. And I know we're working on some stuff in Minnesota as well. Demand has not been hurt. If anybody thinks that the coronavirus is, hurting farmland prices, and I've heard that a couple times where people that I was working with on selling the farm say, well, I think I'm going to wait till this is over with, and no problem there. But at the same time, as this thing becomes, more a part of where we're at, we start to learn more about it. And we're really seeing, while there's a lot of people being very cautious in rural areas, there's still at this point almost no cases of coronavirus in Northwest Iowa. There's some, last I looked, I think Woodbury County had 9 cases and Sioux County had 7. And then there was a lot of counties that had 1. Buena Vista County, for example, just had their first positive test for coronavirus yesterday. We have a tendency to look at the news and we see what's happening in Detroit and New Orleans and New York City and Los Angeles. And we're sitting out here in the cornfields breathing fresh air and looking around. There's nobody around. That's one thing you really have to stop and think about is that's not us. We see those things and we see worst case scenario, what could be possible. But out here in the middle of nowhere where we're growing corn and soybeans, I don't think that fear exists as deeply out in the rural areas. Everybody's being careful and safe. I go to Casey's and I have to stand 6 feet from the counter just like they do in Des Moines and other larger populated areas. Everybody's been very cautious. We had some auction pickups where people picked up personal property. Everybody was cautious. Everybody was thorough. I've seen so many people whip hand sanitizer out of their pocket and clean their hands now. That's good. And I think that land prices, farmers have been through this stuff over and over with the H1N1 flu. We've had the bird flu and the pig flu and every kind of flu that you could imagine. I can remember when they were, hauling out thousands and thousands and hundreds of thousands of turkeys out of Northwest Iowa. Same with the hog populations at time, the porcine virus and all of those things. This is something that isn't unusual to the farming community, especially those in animal agriculture. We've understood the difficulty of monocultures and large populations and stuff, and have had to take those precautions. I mean, how long has biosecurity been happening in hog houses and turkey farms? As well as anybody else does, Rachel, that farmers are more in tune with this type of a situation and have been for years and years. The things that many people are just hearing and learning about today, the washing the hands and washing the boots and stuff. We've all been told to wash your hands. We get that. But in the countryside, this stuff isn't as scary as it is in the big city. Do I think it's going to affect farmland prices? I don't, because these guys are not going to let a good farm go or let a good farm sell cheap simply because of the pandemic in the United States right now. They're not going to, and they don't have any reason to, especially with our auctions. We're doing online auctions. Nobody has any contact with anybody. We do all of our paper signing electronically and wireless, so you get emails and you sign your documents that way. There's no way somebody's going to let a farm sell cheap just because of that. And that's my real opinion. There's not.
Yeah, I agree. We do have a lot of upcoming land for sale, and you can always check out all of our auctions at dreamdirt.com. Like I said earlier, if anyone has questions throughout the day that pop up after viewing this video, the recording of it, feel free to ask me. I'd be glad to answer any questions and chat with you. Also, just want to wish everyone a happy Easter this upcoming weekend. I know it'll be a little difficult, won't be able to see all my family, but I'm sure we'll meet up sometime later in the year and celebrate everything with Easter and birthdays that were this as well. And just stay safe out on the roads. Watch out for tractors as they're going from field to field. And I just hope everyone takes care and stays healthy. So with that, I'll talk to you guys later.
Thanks for having us on, Rachel. I enjoyed the visit.
Yeah, thank you guys.